to change the name. I just want to promote the idea that there is a master cell and that this is where it resides, in this pituitary gland. Probably no surprise to anybody present who's studied human anatomy and physiology. So I think I've given it enough time to put an idea out there and say, now we have a real, possibly a real structure for the master cell in the cleft of the pituitary gland. And I thank you for your attention.
All right. Who would like to ask Paul something? Well, I'd like to ask you something. I want to make sure I heard you correctly. Did you say it was the master cell is the rider on the Turkish saddle?
Yeah.
Yes.
Could you explain
It's
that?
like the rider of the horse.
Okay, that's what I want. All right, I want to make sure I heard you correctly.
The rider of the horse, that you can call it what you will, the rest of the body, but I'm going to say mostly the neural system, the spinal cord, and associated vertebrae
Okay.
would be like the horse.
Sure. All right, would anyone else like to ask Paul anything? Anyone? One more time, anyone? All right, Paul, thank you very much. Excellent.
Well, I hope it shakes things up a little bit about structure determining function, and that there is really something to this master cell that Pasquale used to talk about.
All right. Would anyone else like to come up and speak? Just raise your hand.
Oh, wait, let me get something ready.
You come up, Fernando?
I'm coming up, yeah.
All right.
All right, good evening, everyone. Fernando Mendez, chiropractor, Brooklyn. Paul, you talked about Rose. I took care of her, some of her family. I think her granddaughters. I took care of them a couple of weeks ago, and I took care of a great-granddaughter of hers.
Yes.
And it always shocks me. I forget always the family connection. They know Tom Musto, and they came in. Some of them live out in Rockaway or in Brooklyn still. I didn't know she passed. So
I
Pasquale
had
would,
some of the things.
so Pasquale would say that he could take people to the doorstep of spirituality, but it was on that person to walk through the door. And I feel like I've actually walked through that door, and it's quite a comforting feeling to practice now. The idea of just like, oh, I believe in stuff, and to the point where you go, oh, you know what, I know this stuff. And it's been pleasant. It feels like what I always wanted chiropractic to be. It's a pleasure. But I had to go through all these growing pains to get here. But it's definitely worthwhile. I was cleaning out my basement in the office. I've seen so many things. I found a lot of Brian's writings from maybe 12, 15 years ago after Pasquale had passed. And I was reading it, and it was really vibing with me because I was going, oh, wow, this is what I'm feeling right now. And it showed me, kind of where Brian was, where Self-Center was at that time. And I came across something I had put together, this little green piece of paper, while I was still in Pasquale's office. And it's pretty, I titled it The Spirit of Chiropractic, and it's all printed out, it has graphics. I shocked myself. I said, what is this? I put this together? I just think this is wonderful. And it was, just being in that office, I had just started, I was so busy, so I had time to put things together, and I was with Pasquale every day seeing him. And I got a few copies of some interesting stuff here, some Didi quotes and stuff, but I'm going to read something Pasquale put together. I'm sure some of you guys have come across this, but probably been years. And it was called The Spirit of Chiropractic. I'm just going to read it to you. And Pasquale wrote, at one time I read a veterans magazine that as the colonies of this nation progressed, they became free of their oppressor. They did so because of their spirit. The colonies won the Revolutionary War in spite of all odds. Untrained people for war, limited food, clothing, and weapons. Yet with all the odds against them, they became freed of their oppressor, not because of their superiority in earthly things, but because of their superiority in their spirit. They had the spirit to win. In the beginning, chiropractors forged ahead because of their spirit. They wanted to serve 6 people, and they did it with all their spirit. As chiropractors became licensed in state after state, they became more earthly than spiritual. Now they wanted to be on the level of other earthly professions. Here we have a great division. On the one side, the earthly chiropractors, and on the other side, the spiritual chiropractors. The earthly side is interested in only science. They think all the answers can be extracted from science. The spiritual side thinks that all that is spiritual in chiropractic has already been said. We must recognize that in nature, nothing stands still. Everything is on the move. If a philosophy does not move forward, it will start to slide backwards. Nature abhors doldrums. We in chiropractic must forge ahead. We must not sit on our haunches. We need science, a philosophy, and a spirit. Paul in the Bible wrote, first earth Adam and then spirit Adam. Each scientific fact we put together builds our philosophy, leading us to spirit. We must be aware that the facts of science coming from a laboratory, a test tube, or an instrument are the fuel we need in our thinking. After the fuel is burnt to ash, we extract the pieces that make up the answer. I feel that it is not in the archives of life for chiropractic to succumb. Chiropractic is here to do a job. The job is not only to help people with their dis-ease, but also to help them make a transition from the new world environment approaching us. We will not go as the dinosaurs did. They went because of a radical change in the environment and because of their inability to adapt to that change. That's all I have to say.
Anyone like to ask Fernando anything? Anyone? Anyone?
You know, Fernando, that living spirit is really the driving force behind our gradual evolution. And what Pasquale used to say too was that every adjustment we give pushes mankind forward in their evolution, and it would be spiritually, because that's really what our nature is about.
Are you going to ask him something, Paul? I have to cut in. Are you going to ask him something?
Yeah.
Okay.
What would you say about our current state of the chiropractic spirit?
Current state of the chiropractic, I mean, it's there, it just has to be tapped into. I mean, we got obscured. I think most people in every kind of walk of life has been kind of confused. But it's still there, and it's powerful as ever, maybe even more powerful coming into these times. And, you know, I saw a quote, and it's all over the place, but I say people have eyes but don't see, they have ears but they don't hear. And I think that's the case. And once you start seeing it, whatever, you just have to recognize it and you start knowing, and you can start working with it.
Anyone else want to ask Don Fernando anything? Anyone? Mark Johnson.
What hit you the strongest about that?
Just, you know, Pasquale was pointing it back, chiropractic 1895. It's, you know, the real truly American, like, I don't want to say healing profession, but it's an American thing. You know, people have been cracking backs forever. But that he systemized the DD, that's such an American thing. I mean, just to think that the first patient was an African American, you know? Something that, like, how random is that it would happen back in 1895? To think about it, just the qualities that the American spirit, and that we have to tap into that.
Anyone else like to ask Fernando anything? Anyone? All right, Fernando, gracias. Excelente. All right, the floor is open. Whoever would like to come up? Somewhere in the get you guys over here. Anyone?
I'll say something.
Another Brooklyn guy.
Okay, everybody. Phil Bracco, chiropractor, Staten Island, New York. Since it's September, I'd like to first start off by saying thank you, God, for giving the world chiropractic on September 18th, 1895. And I'd like to thank God again for guiding me on a path to become a chiropractor. I thank God for that. And I thank God for giving me a definite major purpose in life. My purpose, to help sick people become well. That's what we do, right? So I also want to thank Pasquale, since it was his birthday, for helping me to refine my chiropractic adjustments. What I mean by that is I was always able to adjust people, but Pasquale showed me a lot of things that he did that helped me to refine my adjusting techniques so that I could deliver the goods to the patients better. And I like to thank Pasquale for teaching all of us, and I mean all of us, all the people who've come down to the self-center, all the people came in once, twice, and never came back again, to deliver chiropractic to the patients without any fear, because that seems to be a big problem today. A lot of people are afraid to deliver chiropractic to patients. And I don't know why, but I think it's coming from the schools, but don't quote me on that, so that's not important. But the important thing is to deliver the chiropractic adjustment with no fear, and to put yourself, every part of you, into your adjustment, and make every adjustment that you deliver better than the last adjustment that you just gave. And when you do that, when we do that, people get off the table and say things like, wow, I feel lighter. Weird, right? In which direction? Lighter in weight, lighter in light inside of them, brighter. One guy got off the table this week and said, that was a life-changing experience, first chiropractic adjustment. So chiropractic is so powerful. The people need chiropractic. The world needs chiropractic, not just for sick people getting well, but to change our whole environment out there, to love people, to love flow from you, through you. You are love, and allow that to express itself through you and into your patients.
Anyone like to ask Phil anything? Anyone? Anyone?
Phil, if I may say, that of course this is the second great commandment, and you started with loving God. So thank you very much for the refreshing thoughts of that side of life that oftentimes is, especially in the patient's mind, is put off somewhere into the atmosphere, whatever, and doesn't get talked about enough. So thank you.
Anyone like to ask Phil anything? One more time, anyone? All right, Phil, thank you so much. All right, the floor is open. Whoever would like to come on up and speak. Sora's probably sleeping. Long day. I got two more here, or three more. You don't have to speak. I'm not here to push anyone around. But you have the opportunity, and it's a friendly group, so take advantage of it. Anyone? I don't have any wild fill-in stories today, so we're going to have to get someone up here. Mark Johnson.
Mark Johnson, Red Bank, New Jersey, chiropractor. I too have been thinking about God's spirit and chiropractic and how gifted we are that we can work with that energy and work with these people. And in the last month, I got injured really badly with my neck, and I really had a hard time like even adjusting people. It was like an old injury that came back, and I don't know from where, but it was for me to heal. So I got adjusted many times by a lot of different chiropractors. So it was interesting to see the art coming out in all the different chiropractors that I was served by, and the knowledge that was coming through the adjustments. Because there was, I mean, I many times couldn't even like move my body. And I felt like, I know what it feels like to be really blocked, and I was thinking of the pineal gland and all of that, because that running I felt like so many things inside chemically were just going out of balance. And even the thoughts and not sleeping and being up at night and things bouncing back and forth, and I was just like, I just couldn't wait to get another adjustment. And at a certain point, when things started to stabilize a little bit, the spirit inside was like, all right, you've gotten enough, now let this work. And I think sometimes people come in and we'll adjust them, and we might not give it enough time to let the adjustments process in these people. And I'm just throwing that out on the table because it came up to me thinking about that with certain people. It's like, it's so powerful. Like, I had a woman first time come into me, and she couldn't walk, and she's been like a mess for years, and diabetes. I mean, just totally, her physical body was a mess. And her daughter had been calling to try to get her mother in, and she, for one reason or another, couldn't get her in. When she finally gets her in, I'm like, okay, where do I start on this? I was just like, all right, let me get to my ground zero, and what would I need to do to feel like I could clear this spinal neural system out the best. And I did as much of a great adjustment as I could possibly put out, and this is when I was hurting, and I'm thinking, wow, I really want this lady to get the blessing of chiropractic through like I'm experiencing. And so I took care of her, and she did well. But it took like 4 or 5 adjustments in a row to get her to that point, and that's what I felt like I needed to do, was a lot of adjustments with her to get to break through whatever she was blocked with. And it was the same thing with me, with my neck. I mean, I just felt like my spinal cord was so torqued that I felt it all the way up into my brain. So in the beauty of chiropractic and the fact that even I felt wounded and hurt, I could still serve this person. And it was a beautiful thing that we can do. Maybe we have to alter how we do some adjustments on some people, or alter how many times we adjust these people and coming in. And I don't know, I just wanted to throw that out there that, you know, we in our own field need to experience the gift of chiropractic. We've been getting adjusted for so long that when something really comes up to us, we need to get that experience back to get our light lifted. Because I really felt a difference in when I was subluxated and blocked like that. I really felt like it affected so many systems within me that I almost was wondering if I was effective myself when I was in that place, or should I just rest? So anyway, that's all I got to say.
Anyone want to ask Mark Johnson anything? Anyone? Anyone want to ask
Paul,
Senior
I
Mark?
know I met you somewhere. I don't remember, but I remember your
met in
face.
Brooklyn.
In
Nice
Brooklyn.
to see you again, Mark. Yeah, things have changed a bit.
Yeah.
And what you had to say brings back a lot of memories for me too. Of some days we're all hurting more than the patients are, and yet we get down there and we do a job. And I think, you know, that's another thing Pasquale gave us, and to be thankful for.
Mark, what year did you graduate chiropractic for?
June 18th, 1979.
Very good. Anyone else like to ask this young fellow, Mark Johnson, anything?
70s.
In the 70s.
In the 70s. In the 70s.
All right, anyone either
Before you were
from
born.
Pennsylvania or East Flatbush?
9 months.
Not-
Hey everybody, Alex Wilkowitz, chiropractor in Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania. We're talking a lot, as we usually do, about spirituality. You know, there was a time when I didn't really understand what was even the point of God and spirituality. Now I understand what's the point of life without God and spirituality. For me, it's been such a flip to just a different place. I went to a philosophical chiropractic program about 2 weeks ago, and it was really good, wonderful people, but they're very focused in the objective, straight approach, taking all spirituality out of chiropractic. And you know, it was interesting. That used to be something I was very interested in at one time, and I'm glad I went, because it kind of just reinforced the way I'm doing things is right for me. Like, for example, they would never adjust anything outside of the spine because their whole purpose is just addressing vertebral subluxation. And I see just addressing function, addressing structure and how it affects function. That doesn't just happen in the spine, that can happen elsewhere, other tissues, in the extremity joints. And for me, it was kind of good to almost reinforce to myself how I'm doing things and how I approach it, for me, is the right way to do it. And it's a pretty amazing feeling to like just feel like you're doing things the way it should be for you versus trying to be something else, which I think a lot of times in this profession that happens, where people sign on to different approaches thinking it'll build their practice or get better results, and I feel like I'm going in the direction that's just right for me.
Okay, would anyone like to ask Alex anything? Excuse me, anyone? One more time, anyone? More.
Speaking of God, was there some type of a real pivotal point in that helped you or changed you into, you said things changed in that?
I think there have been many points. I don't know if there was an actual just one time, but there have been many different pins that have come down and have kind of gotten me in the right direction. And with that, I've had plenty of times I'm going the right direction and I start to falter, and then I need another pin to get me going the right way, which unfortunately seems like that's been many, many times, but it's, to me, it's just, it's the only way for me to go versus it just being a choice.
Anyone else like to ask Senior Alex anything? Go ahead.
Yeah, Mark, did you
Go ahead,
ever
Paul.
think that perhaps the idea of spirit is tied to one's respiration, the very essence of our lives here on earth, at least, that we have to breathe, and that this is the spirit given to us right from Adam and Eve, taking the clay of the earth for God, and he breathed into it. Did you ever think of this fundamentally?
I think maybe in a different context, but I like where that's going.
Stevenson.
You began speaking, and I wanted to hone in on your initial words. You said that you arrived at the point, please correct me if I'm wrong, where you know the point of life without God. Is that what you said?
Yes.
Can you kind of expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, growing up, I didn't come from a religious family, but they kind of forced me to go to church and Sunday school. And it was one of those things I never really appreciated any value to it or any need for it in my life. And now I do. Now I see that what's the point of life without that?
All right, Alex, that's three. Excellent. All right. Excelente. Well then, oh wait, let me shut this off. This, Alright, so have to deal with me one more time, and after this, I probably won't be the featured speaker for some time. I got a feeling other people will be jumping to do it. So, Brian Patrick, Corrigan chiropractor, Jersey City, New Jersey. I remember Pasquale spoke, he started off by saying, there's a man with a crooked hat, he walks with a crooked cane, he's walking on a crooked road, and he lives in a crooked house. He's crooked. You know, this system, you've been living all these years is crooked. So I realized something the other day. I told myself, I've jumped off that crooked road. So, remember toward the end with Pasquale, he had lost a lot of weight, he got thin, and he said, people want to know, what is going on with me? So he said, my spiritual part has run ahead of my flesh part at the moment. No, he said, my spiritual part has run ahead of my flesh part. This is why I am the way I am at the moment. And he said this over 15 years ago. So right now, I feel like so I asked myself, what does this mean to me? Because I feel like that's what's going on with me. And for me, it means it's like, to me, chiropractic allows us to step out of space and time. In that moment, it's like what he called the pause, and you're safe. And I could look at all the stumbling blocks of anger, pain, anything that's holding me back. I can like see it in my aura. And then, as I step back into space and time, I still remember what those things are that I need to get rid of. Because I have to get rid of everything inside of me that's causing me trouble. And by doing that, it's intense. Because as all that stuff leaves me, it really shakes my body up. I mean, it's really shaking me up. But I have the understanding that this is necessary. And to me, it's about advancing. It's the progression of my soul, progression of me understanding who I really am. And really, it's about, at the end of it, it's me understanding that I'm just being one with God. And that's to love myself, love others, and allow others to love me. And it's about slowing down, doing this in small sequential steps. And the old saying is, be still and know that I am God. Well, in that pause, I'm completely still, and I'm focused. And then when I come back, this world has so many distractions to try and take me away from it, but I'm extremely focused where I'm not allowing anything to take me away from this job of getting rid of everything inside of me I don't need. And it's a metamorphosis. Meta means beyond, and morph means form. And to me, the form is this system. And as these things come out of me, these things that have been asleep inside of me are waking up. These things that are really, that have been covered with debris that really lets me, there's a thing in the Bible that says, it's from 1 Corinthians 13:12, and it says, that's only 13 verses, that the whole thing, it's wonderful. But it says, then I shall know, even as also I'm known. So it's like, I'm going to see myself as God sees me. And that's why, for me, chiropractic came here. So chiropractic came here for my spiritual progression. And there's this book, I wrote it down, it's called The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse. It's actually written for adults, but it looks like a little kid's book, but it's for adults. And the horse seems to be the wisest one out of this group. And they said to the horse, what's the most courageous thing you've ever done in your life? And he goes, ask for help. So I always ask God to help me every single day. And that, to me, takes courage. I don't have now. At the moment, I feel what's going on is, it's like you do these small sequential steps and you get to the point, I feel like I've broken through a sound barrier. And now that's putting me into a whole new level of consciousness that I've never been in before. And and it's an acceleration, because as soon as you come in, it's like boom, it's like all this stuff hits me. It's an acceleration, and chiropractic is helping get rid of this debris so I can be open to handle more of this consciousness, this wisdom, and working with God. And so it's really not that I'm going faster, it's just a lot's hitting me because now I'm more aware of it and I can sense things better, and I sense all these things coming in. And that can be very confusing for people. It can be very upsetting for people. It can knock people away where it just freaks them out and they don't know what to do, so they'll just completely stop. And I'm not judging anyone who does that, but I realize I'm not here to stop doing this. I'm here to keep moving forward. And I never ask anyone to do anything. My job as a chiropractor is when this person comes in, I'm going to work with them so they can feel safe to do their own journey, to do what they sense they need to do. And doing it after all these years, I can sit back and watch, and I can see that they're going through this thing. And my job is to pretty much rarely say anything, unless they start asking me things, but mainly just guide them as they go through this journey. Because we're all going through something very intense right now. Our soul's been out front. It's been taking a beating because it's like we haven't been, it's like the connection to God's been cut off and we can't really see who we are. But chiropractic came here in 1895, as Pasquale said years ago. He says, that day, September 18th, should be a holiday celebrated around the world. The whole world should be celebrating that, because when that came in, that broke a sound barrier that shook this entire planet. And I think if you probably went back, you probably took that earth in a tilt and it probably straightened it up a little bit more. And that's what we're going through. So I'm just working on I sense myself with my true north, which is aligned. And the reason why I'm just saying this, I see all these people going through all these things, and I notice that the ones who are aware that if they just slow down and just realize that they can work through this and they can do it, then we'll have more peace throughout the entire world. And the reason why I have all these wars is because people don't have that connection with their soul to God, and they're running around doing all these crazy things. But for me, chiropractic could help make them realize that their soul is connected to God, and then you'll see more peace and love. And I'm going to leave it at that.
Fernando.
Would anybody like to ask Brian anything?
When you said that there's all these things that you have to get rid of, right? I'm not talking about just what you had
Sure.
talked about in the beginning. Where do you think those things came from that you have to get rid of?
I thought about that as well. I just think it's things, maybe some of it we're just born with, but most of it is, I just feel, we all have free will, and I chose to do certain things years ago, and those things are still inside of me, the results of those things that I did years ago, and that's what I think it's from. And now it's my job to realize, well, I was holding myself back by doing all those things. And I can't change it, but I can at least allow myself to cleanse myself of whatever emotions that have held me back from all these past experiences or traumas to move forward. So that's what, for me, that's what I think it is.
Anybody else like to ask Brian anything?
Yeah, Brian, did you ever feel that these things might fall under the category of addictions? Things that you latched onto and were part of your life for whatever period of time it may have been, and that this is something you want to purge yourself of in order to find more of God's grace.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd use the word addiction. Maybe it is. I'm staying away from any labels, so I don't put myself in any categories. It's just something, it's already coming out of me. You can hear me. These things are coming out of me, and I need to process it. But that's something good, and I'll have to think about it, Paul. I didn't think about that.
Well, for example, if I could just add, even things like biases or things that we learned growing up from our families that were right or wrong or good or bad, whatever it might have been, that we incorporate these into our everyday lives, and we may not realize how powerful that effect is on making us unloving.
I understand what you're saying. I've done all that.
Yeah.
And what you're seeing now is it's leaving. But at this point, I decided I'm not going to focus on particular things anymore, because I'm just done with it. Because if I focus on one particular thing, to me that's holding me back. I'm just going beyond all of it. And that's my job for me at the moment. But that's for me. I'm not putting on anyone else.
Mark?
Do you go through states of confusion with it?
No.
Anybody else like to ask Brian anything? All right.
That's it.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you, guys.
Yes. Yes.
All right.